Hello, all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. And last week we finally started making project on this here wizard game after a year of mostly just spinning my wheels and doing nothing. But NPCs are largely done. Glad to be done with that. I like working on NPCs, but I think spending a year on them is a little extreme. And today we're going to be working on NPCs, but in a different way. It is time to start playing around with Scribble, Chatterbox, and cutscenes. So we're going to start by Googling Scribble for Game Maker. And by Googling, I mean that I have it in my browser history, so I can just go to the Scribble repository. 9.6.1 beta appears to be the most recent version. Or 9.965 appears to be the most recent version. I think this is the version that Wizarducks is currently using because it did update it to that not long ago. And we are just going to go and download that. We can do the same for Chatterbox. Somewhere on my computer, I know that I've got these YYNPS files already, but I do not feel like searching for them, so we're just going to go and download them from GitHub afresh. 3.1.13 beta for Chatterbox apparently is 9 hours old. That's exciting. So let's go and just open up these. We can close GitHub for now. We can drag Scribble into the Game Maker IDE like that. Yes, please. I am going to say included files, Scribble license, and then there's all that stuff that I need. We can add that. We can do the same thing for Chatterbox. Yes, please. And I believe that's going to be the same thing. So you got the included files, which is a license, and Chatterbox. Very nice. Add all those. I'm going to just go and make a commit now for the sake of like making a mark in the sand where I actually did all this. Added Scribble and Chatterbox. It's not the most exciting commit ever, but just in case I explodify something and need to roll back. So for configuration, we don't actually have any fonts in here, do we? Let me see. If I filter for fonts, there is a Scribble default font, which is like Droid Sans Mono, apparently. Is that the default Game Maker font? I think that might be the default Game Maker font. Anyway, we're gonna pretend that's not there. I'm gonna just go and create myself a new font. By long tradition, I call this FNT_game. We could have alternatives if we'd like. What do I want to set this to? So, probably my favorite that actually gets used in Wizarducks is this one called Acme. This one came from, I think, Google Fonts. I will find a link to it should you want to use it yourself. Should be okay, the license permitting to be used in games. There is, of course, Pixel Locale, which is the pixel font that people tend to like. Not Planewalker, that is my Elder Scrolls font. Pixel Locale. I am not the biggest fan of pixel fonts. I like this one better than most. I do think they're a little hard to read. I think with a outline and or a drop shadow, they're a little bit easier. So I guess that brings us to the next order of business, which is going to be, I'm going to make that 32 because we are going to be enabling SDF on this. I'm going to, let's see. So obj_game. We can start setting up a little bit in terms of fonts and exactly how am I doing this in actual Wizarducks. So, that's going to yield me a lot of results and most of them aren't going to be helpful. Out of sheer curiosity, how many times does the symbol Scribble appear in Wizarducks? 2,579 times. Most of those are Scribble internals. You know what? While I'm here, should I just like steal my old code? How exactly did I do this in Wizarducks? I think I've actually got like a couple of like silly macros to save myself from having to type this out a bunch of times. Just so Scribble font defaults, Scribble fonts menu, and these are just largely going to be different sizes for different fonts because some of them appear like they have different character widths, different character heights on the same size, and they need to be scaled up and down in different ways. But anyway, what I care about is starting format, scale, and SDF border. And more recently, there was an alias added to that was SDF outline, because that's like a more accurate name for that function. So in mind read text, which I think is going to be an NPC. Nope, you don't have a draw GUI event, so I guess that'll just be an obj_game. I was right here, wasn't I? Where we do the draw GUI, where we draw the thought bubbles, and now instead of saying draw text with our like our like text index and all that, we could say, let me leave that there for a minute and say like Scribble equals, fine, scrib equals Scribble, containing the mind read text, like this. How does typist work? I have to look up how Scribble typists work every time. We'll deal with typewriter text in a minute. And then we can say like scrib dot starting format, fnt underscore game c underscore white as our color, scrib dot sdf border c underscore black. We'll give it a thickness of 2, and scrib dot scale. I am going to want to scale this down for the final product, because this is a font of size 32, and that is a little big, and it's easier to scale down and scale up SDF fonts than it is to scale up and down normal fonts, but having a slightly bigger SDF to begin with makes things easier, because you have more data to work with. And lastly, Scribble, scrib dot draw. The location can be location.x.that, location.y.that. We're probably going to have to play with alignment a little bit. We are centered. So I think scrib.align, FA center, FA middle. And we should have something that at least looks kind of sort of like what we had when we were just using draw text here. So if I run over this way, they're definitely on the big side. All right, so what size? I think the game maker default font size is like 12. So if this font size is like 32, I definitely would want to set that to like 0.4. But we'll make a nicer interface for this in a bit. Okay. We also need wrapping. We also need text wrapping. Scrib.wrap. How does the arguments for .wrap go? It's width, and is there an optional height too? It looks like I'm just using it in here as width. So the width can be WW minus speech bubble padding, like this. And there's also, and I appear to not be using it here. Did I put it somewhere weird? I remember doing something weird here. SDF shadow. I might have actually not done it yet in this version of the in this branch of actual Wizarducks. I'll just come back to that later. Scribble.sdf shadow. We can also play with what exactly the border and shadow should look like. I might make that like a gameplay setting. I do have plans to make that a gameplay setting in actual Wizarducks, because some people like the look of one versus the other better. But how is this? What are the arguments for this? That appears to be trying to use those methods on non-SDF fonts. Color alpha and some offset values. So say C underscore black 1 4 and like 4 with an optional softness value. So C black 1. We'll see how that looks for the outline and the shadow. That's actually really heavy. Why is it that heavy? Is it not in pixels? It might be in like normalized units or something. It's definitely better. I'll leave it. Okay, so we can get rid of all that. Don't need all that. You can, of course, chain this all together if you'd like. So you can, instead of having each one of these be its own line, you can make the nice chainable fluent interface like this, and then when you're done, .draw. I do need the typist though. Let's first commit this. I wish GameMaker did not constantly make these font.old files. I have never once seen a font texture get corrupted just by changing like the size or the anything else like that. I don't know why GameMaker does it, but let's see. So we added font_game, and we are using we're doing that. This looks like it isn't saved. Hello? GameMaker, what did you do? Didn't look like anything changed on disk. I've seen that once or twice in this version of the beta. I don't know if there's another one came out today that I might use that might make that behave a little bit better. Anyway, what was I doing? Committing that is what I was doing. So let's go and try and relearn how typist works. So this, I think, is going to be mainly used in places such as like the cutscene system down here. Okay, so I can pass in a Scribble typist object to the .draw method down here. And when I create that, so it looks like now initializing the typist is independent of the actual text string, and they have their own settings. And when I say, like, when you create a text object or something, you could like skip or say like .in or to make it start or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna just borrow this line from Wizarducks. Don't worry about whenever you're seeing the Wizarducks code, like gameplay settings whatever. That's exactly what it sounds like. At some point in this game, I'll get around to doing that, but it probably won't be like right now. Where are the thought bubbles created? So when this is basically the NPC reaction to getting hit by a mind read spell. So new thought bubble is going to be this. We can say typist equals that. If you prefer, we can split this into two different parts. Typist.in, and then what are the gameplay settings .text speeds in Wizarducks? I want to say that's like characters per second. No, apparently it's literally just 1, 2, 3. I don't know what that means. It might be per frame. We will get to, again, gameplay settings for text scrolling speed. I'll make that a little on the slow side. And I think when we go and draw our thought bubbles on the screen, .draw using bubble.typist. And that should cause it to scroll in. Yeah, I use scrolling text like this a lot, but as you can see, I don't work with it on a day-to-day basis often enough to really remember how any of this works. So we will need to reconfigure the size. So like instead of saying string width extended, string height extended, whatever, I'll need to let's initialize the scribble before drawing it. I can move this up here and max speech bubble width, like that. The width and the height of this text box can instead be... Scribble has like a... See, this is another thing that I do, but not often enough to... I probably should have just looked in the documentation earlier instead of looking through my old code to see what things did. Like, get width. Okay. So I don't have to use any of the, like, get bbox functions or anything like this. I should just be able to say, scrib.get width and scrib.get height. And that should give us the size of the text box that we want. It's a little bit not big enough. Was there a... Oh, we added the speech bubble padding there. All right, let's add the speech bubble padding there. And then, of course, we're rounding it to the nearest... we're, like, sealing it to the nearest 32, so that the box, the 9 slice works nicely. All right, so that now looks definitely pretty good. I think we can say that we have successfully implemented Scribble for these mind read bubbles. I think we can go back to Codecks and we can check off that. That's not checking it off. We can check off that. We can check off that. I added Chatterbox. I have not configured Chatterbox yet. So when I say that, I mean writing a bunch of Chatterbox functions that you can call back from Yarn scripts to GameMaker to do things like add items or give the player spells or that kind of thing. Arguably, that's kind of not really going to be a useful thing until I have a player profile system, a player save, global value system that actually keeps track of that. For an example of how that looks, I'm going to go back to Wizarducks again and look at this file, which is going to contain a bunch of Chatterbox functions that will make things happen in the game. Add currency, remove currency, add cards and that kind of thing. Food, staffs, quack, hat, those kind of accessors, as well as possibly more advanced things like spawning enemies or opening doors or that sort of thing. How long do I think this is going to take? So... Okay, you know what? I don't want to break that into multiple videos, so I think I'm just going to make this one a little bit on the short side, and next time we're going to be getting into the meat and potatoes of cutscene systems. We're going to be creating different game states to allow for cutscenes. This will also include the player and entity updates will not happen in the state, but rendering and effects will continue, so things like NPCs will not walk around during cutscenes. Enemies, which we don't have yet, will not attack you during cutscenes. And then we'll be getting to when you walk up to an NPC and click on them, you'll be able to talk to them, enter that state, create a text box on the window if that's appropriate, and other things related to doing cutscenes. And that will be getting into Chatterbox. I don't know how much of that we'll be able to get done in a single video, but that's what we're going to be doing next. So, I've recorded the last 3 of these all in the same day, because I finally got some of the stupid stuff out of the way, and I can finally start making progress again. And also just I have a little bit more time now. So my name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. I like to make videos on weird stuff you can do in GameMaker, so if any of this appeals to you, I like to talk about 3D stuff and shader stuff, and also just GameMaker stuff in general. so feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. You should all go check out Wizarducks and the Lost Hat, which is one of the games that I like to work on when I'm not doing YouTube stuff. Link to the Steam page can be found down below. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, Squarecrow, Spy Games, Pixelated Pope, Manta Ray, Game Maker, Game Art Indie, Edward Holt, DJ Gibbles, and gamedev for supporting these videos. If you want to contribute to the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description.